Hailing frequencies open. Welcome back, everybody, to episode 2 of the Hit or Miss Star Trek podcast. Hopefully you got a chance to check out our first episode, our Encounter at Farpoint review. It's still there if you didn't. In case you haven't been keeping up with our social media and stuff, today's episode, we're going to be reviewing an episode of Lower Decks. But again, I couldn't do this on my own, so I had to bring in a massive Lower Decks fan from the internet. Someone pretty internet famous. So why don't you introduce yourself, special guest?
I am not internet famous. I'm not. I'm just some randomer.
Well, in Trek circles, you know.
I am Linda at Hen and a Hat. At Hen and a Hat 1, actually. Yeah, I'm Linda. How are you?
Excellent. Yeah, thanks for agreeing to join us, Linda. I think a lot of people probably have seen you on the internet and stuff, and they might be interested in learning a bit more about you. So, without hopefully being too daunting, because there's some big questions potentially coming up, so we'll throw straight into section 1, which is the section that I call Hailing Frequencies Open. Even though it probably would have been more fitting to call it Haley Frequencies Open in this particular episode. But
I like that.
We'll start with the kind of big obvious question, which is if you can remember, what is it that first got you interested in Star Trek? What kind of lured you in and got you hooked forever? And what was kind of the first episode that you saw that you really loved?
Yeah, okay. So I do remember. It was a long time ago, but I do remember. My older sister, she's quite a bit older than me and my younger brother. So she used to throw on Star Trek: The Next Generation. And it was, it was always on after school. I think it was on Sky One that we started watching it. And then we caught up with the repeats and everything. So she got us into it, and we kind of carried on watching it, and then I kind of carried on watching the rest of the shows that came after that.
Okay.
And the first, I do not remember what the first episode was that we watched. It was just kind of always there. But the first episode I remember loving was, what is this called again? Time. It was when it was with the Romulans. When Deanna and Picard and Geordi, I think, are in a shuttle, and the time is
Timescape.
Timescape. Yes, that's the one. That's the one. That's the one I remember loving first. So that was quite a late episode, but I'm sure. Yeah, no, I watched it way before that, but that's the first one that I can remember going, "Oh, this is amazing."
Really? Isn't that the one where Picard draws like a smiley face in the warp core explosion or something like that? Or am I completely imagining that?
Is that the same one? It's to do with the black hole. What? Oh God, my memory is so bad. What's it called? The Romulan propulsion system. They're experimenting, and it's so cool. Just when they don't know if there's one Romulan and he's not frozen in time, he's just standing there, like pretending to be one of and he attacks them. Oh, it's just that whole episode was amazing.
That was a really cool visual. That's not an episode that comes up a lot, and it's a one that I can't hugely remember because I think a lot of the time I probably skipped straight to Descent because it comes straight after it, and bored. Yeah. Awesome. So if you had to pick a favorite series out of all of them, I know it's a big question. If you had to pick a favorite, what would you say would be your favorite Trek series?
It has to be TNG for me, definitely.
Yes.
It's the one I grew up with, and it's the one that kind of solidified my Trekkiness, and just growing up, me and my brother and my sister, when she was there, we would just like talk in TNG quotes.
Yeah, cool.
So yeah, definitely TNG for us.
That's awesome. A girl after my own heart. We share that in common. And so the other final sort of big question, which my friend Stephen in episode 1 didn't particularly like me giving him, was if you had to pick 3 episodes, gun to your head, that you thought were the best Star Trek had to offer to show a completely random person, which 3 episodes from the entirety of the franchise would you choose?
Oh my God, that's a tough question.
I know, right?
Okay, so All Good Things, but you'd have to watch both of them,
That was
obviously. So
also
All Good
picked in
Things.
episode 1 by Stephen.
No way!
It
No
was his
way!
first exact choice as well.
No way! No, it is the perfect episode of Star Trek, I think. It's just perfect.
I
And
should
it
have
gives you
included
really
it too.
does it does kind of give you a taster of like time travel, and of course there's Q and the dynamic with and the relationships changing. It's amazing. So yeah, if you don't love All Good Things after watching that, you're not gonna really like
That's
anything else.
awesome. That's almost word for word what
Uh,
Stephen said, so that I love that.
no way!
Yeah,
That's
pretty
mad.
much.
That's mad. Okay, let me try and think of one from DS9. Okay, Way of the Warrior.
Oh, that's a
Well,
good
it's
choice.
just,
Yeah.
yeah, action, there's comedy, there's Worf. Yeah, Way of the Warrior. So
There's Wolf.
let me think. Yeah. Let me see. I'd probably go with another TNG one.
Okay.
Maybe Cause and Effect. There
Oh,
you go.
another good
Cause and
call.
Effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Very specific area of Trek that you're interested in, and the kind of next gen DS9 area.
Pretty much.
Oh, bless. Well, we'll get to Lower Decks later anyway. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, so thanks for that. It's just a little bit of a getting to know you. I think we're all kind of a bit nervous to sort of start these
Mm,
conversations on Twitter and stuff, and I find it personally quite fascinating how people first came to Star Trek and what everybody's
yeah.
unique favorites is and stuff. So it's just a little bit of
Yeah.
cool.
Cool.
um, so without further ado, I'll hit us on to the main section, which was the hit or miss section. Not the main
Yay.
section. The main section would be the review, but the hit or miss section, again, in case you're joining us new, is basically where I hurl some random things from anywhere in the Star Trek universe at my guest, which you have not heard before, and just ask if you think they're a hit or a miss, brief reasons why, and then share my opinion and see if we agree or disagree. So yeah, are you ready to get going with that?
I suppose I am.
Okay. We'll probably make it about 7 or 8 of them because it's only a very short episode we're reviewing as opposed to last week's 2-parter this week.
Yeah.
So, the first thing I have on for this week's hit or miss section, and again, these are completely random. I don't know why I picked them. It's just stuff I thought about. The first one this week is the episode Equinox from Voyager, parts 1 and 2.
Mm.
Hit or miss?
Hit. Oh man, hit.
Awesome.
If only for the ship itself, the Equinox
Oh,
is
it's
actually
such
my
a good ship.
favorite. It's
Yeah.
my favorite non-hero Federation ship. Yeah.
I completely forgot you were mentioning on Twitter a while ago you were looking for a model of it. Actually, when I chose this, I completely forgot about
This
that.
is true.
Yeah.
This is true. Yeah. I'm keeping an
So,
eye out for a sale. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah, it's a fantastic design of ship. But I agree with you. I think it's a hit. I love that episode. I've mentioned. I think it was the other day on Twitter. Somebody said if you had to pick one episode of Voyager to watch without any of the others, what would it be? And I chose Equinox, and just said it's the perfect example of like a case study of morality and how easy it is to kind of slip to that into between sort of Ransom gradually going further and further down the sort of insanity, constant abuse of life forms thing to Janeway kind of starting down that road herself as she got more and more Ahab-esque, I suppose. I just really love that depth to it. Plus, cool ship. So,
cool ship. Yeah. Very cool ship.
Awesome. Yeah. Oh, cool. I'm glad to hear you liked it. So that was a little bit of agreement on the first part anyway then. So the next thing on my list, sort of bringing it way up to date, several centuries in the future, hit or miss the USS Discovery A, the refit.
Oh dear. You can't say that to me. Oh, okay. I am going to say miss because like I do not like floating nacelles. They make me nervous. And I don't like the holes cut out of the hull. They're missing a load of rooms or decks or crew quarters or something. Just something has been cut out. What was there? I don't know, the turbo lift shaft or something. I don't.
I thought it was only the nacelle pylons that had little bits cut out, wasn't it?
No,
or am I imagining that? I could be wrong.
No, part of the actual hull has been removed.
Oh yeah, the joining part in the saucer. Now that I'm looking at it, a fair bit of that's been taken away as well, hasn't it?
Yes, I gotta have to say miss for that one. Well,
that's fair enough. I think a lot of people would agree with you, and for the sort of the exact same reasons.
Yeah,
I'm going to disagree politely. I think it's a hit, but I fully, with the proviso that I fully understand the whole kind of, you're either going to be on board with the detached nacelles and parts or not. And I'm fine with it, I guess, but I could live without it as well, if that makes sense. In terms of, it's a cool new gimmick and it makes it look futury, even though it doesn't make a lick of sense that it apparently improves maneuverability when you would think having it attached would surely be better. But...
Exactly. And I think it looks, they wanted it to fit into future technology, so they updated it and now it has floating nacelles like all the other ships. But I thought it would have been nice if Discovery was an old ship and they hadn't gone near it, and everywhere it went in the sector or whatever, they'd be like, "Oh, you must be from the past. You have a very old ship with attached nacelles." I think that would have been more interesting than updating it.
Yeah. Sure, well, some of the ships that are in that kind of fleet in the 32nd century do still have attached nacelles. The upgraded Constitution class or whatever, the Armstrong, that's got attached nacelles, and nobody said that they had to be detached from it, so it didn't make a ton of sense. And it's worth noting, I think I do like that at least when it's going to spore drive, the nacelles reattach first, because I was like, if they don't, that makes no sense. If it just starts spinning around the sort of stationary nacelles, that's just going to look ridiculous.
No, it is cool. The animation is cool as well. So yeah, it's cool, but I could have done with the old Discovery.
That's fair enough. I do like the old one, but I prefer I don't know how I would describe it. The sort of the hull plating or whatever on the new one looks a bit cooler because it looks shiny and silver metallic as opposed to the weird bronze coloring of the original. I do agree, but I also think they spent a lot of time kind of orbiting that central command area, and that itself was all blue and sparkly. So I didn't know if it was just the lighting from the force field or whatever was going on there. It was lighting all the ships this bright kind of color. So I was kind of confused. Yeah, so let's move on from that. I will still say hate with the proviso that I fully understand anyone not liking it, but again, the one thing I will complain about, which is a complete nitpick, and it doesn't ruin the episode, but the ridiculous trip through a city-sized turbo lift network in that last episode bugged the crap out of me. I was so annoyed by that. At some point, they're just going to have to explain they've got that TARDIS tech and it's massively bigger on the inside, because otherwise that makes no sense.
We could have a whole show out the turbo lifts.
The roller coaster network that they've got on the original Discovery and the Enterprise is also kind of really annoying to me. But
it's crazy, makes no sense.
I just go with it. As long as the story's good, I guess we'll forgive all those things. But never mind. That's one hit and one miss anyway for the Discovery A, but not glowingly popular, I would say. So the next thing for this particular episode, and I swear I wrote this before I knew who was my guest, but the next thing on this list is Chief O'Brien, hit or miss.
Absolute legend. There's nobody that comes close to Chief O'Brien. He's the number one person in the universe, Star Trek universe. He got a gold statue. Come on.
That moment in Lower Decks with the gold statue to the greatest person in history was so chef's kiss perfect, really, wasn't it? So
and everyone agreed. Nobody had an issue with that.
No, I mean the guy suffered enough to get there, to be honest, didn't he? So
and that we were petitioning for, somebody was petitioning for a statue of Colin Meaney in Dublin.
Oh, really?
As Chief O'Brien. It was a couple of years ago. A petition popped up, and it got media attention, and I think it kind of fizzled out. But we need a statue of him in England.
Yeah, completely. They've got a Captain Janeway statue in whatever her hometown's supposed to be, so it can happen.
Exactly.
I'd love to see that. So I'm going to assume you mean hit. In that case,
absolute hit.
Completely unqualified. I agree. I think it's great. I like Colm Meaney as an actor anyway. I think he's really good. I love him in both drama and in comedies. And then when he turned up in the Alan Partridge film, I was pleasantly surprised and thought he was really good with the comedic timing and stuff. But it was always a treat when you saw him on Next Gen, and then obviously he's completely the star of the S9, if we're honest, despite all of the kind of torture porn they just kept putting him through to make him miserable. But so I agree. I think complete hit. Chief O'Brien's a bit of a Starfleet legend for a reason.
Yes, brilliant.
So yeah, a bit more of an agreement, I think, on that one. So the next
no
one,
argument to me.
Yeah, awesome. Good. The very next thing on my list is quite topical. Again, it was already written, so this is a weird coincidence. But the next thing is hit or miss the Borg Queen.
Okay. Yeah, hit. I think she was a good idea. And the fact that they recast her in Voyager made sense. It does make sense because they are one. They just pick a random female and go, you could be the next queen. That's okay. I like that. And the Borg were getting kind of boring. And when they introduced the queen, you're like, oh, there's another level. Oh my goodness, somebody is making all these decisions. Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah, love the Borg. I love First Contact. Everything about it.
Yeah, that's true. First Contact is great. Yeah. Okay. Again, I'm going to politely disagree, and I'm going to say I think the idea of the Borg Queen is a slight miss just in execution, because it just seems to go against what they'd kind of set up with the Borg. When even in that first episode, I think it's Troy says that a single leader can make mistakes, but the whole point of a combined whole is that it's much less likely. And then they proceed to show a single leader making mistakes constantly. So it's kind of counterproductive to that idea. I understand from a dramatic standpoint why they do it, because it gives you somebody to interact with rather than just kind of faceless robots that all talk in one voice.
Yeah. Well, when they assimilated Locutus, that was their spokesperson, and they thought, we're gonna try and communicate now with Starfleet. We need one person to speak for us. So do we know if the Borg? I know my history is fuzzy, but do we know if the Borg Queen was around at that? She was around at that time. They showed it in the
they showed it in
flashbacks. It was kind of like a flashback of her being aware of Locutus, I think. But I don't know. I think she might have been a late addition. I don't think she was always there. I don't think they always had a queen. But I think maybe that might have spurred them on to go, right, let's actually pick a queen now.
Yeah.
Because this is kind of working for us.
Yeah, I guess I get it. Like I said, and certainly from a story point of view, I get it. But it's just a part of the kind of, again, this is really nerdy deep dive, and I'm probably going to annoy the heck out of some people listening. But it's just kind of the contribution to the weakening of the Borg more and more as they went on. Sort of when they were only in the sort of 3 or 4 Next Gen episodes, it was really scary when you saw them, and then when they appeared every other week in Voyager, it did get a little roll your eyes. Oh my gosh, they're going to defeat them easily again, kind of thing.
Well. That's true, but I think also they have to kind of evolve. They were an amazing bad guy when they came along. They're really scary and everything. And they started popping up every week in Voyager, but then they have to go one higher. So there's a species 8472 who can defeat the Borg, and so they can't stay the main bad guy. They have to. I think in Star Trek they're always looking for a bigger villain. Especially in Discovery, they're looking for like the biggest villain, and then the next series there's an even bigger one.
I agree, but I think that's part of the issue is that I think they had that in the Borg, and they didn't really need to try to one up them. And
so I gotta say hit for the Queen.
Yeah. I'm because it missed, but with the same proviso that I made last week with Section 31, which is that although I think the idea is a bit of a miss, I love a heck of a lot of the actual stories that they're in. First Contact is class. Obviously, a lot of the Voyager stuff is class. And I will say that the interplay between Susanna Thompson and Kate Mulgrew was brilliant. It was fantastic having that kind of, because it was nice to finally have a sort of strong female villain that wasn't Seska for Janeway to play off and kind of, So I do appreciate all that, but I just think as an idea, it would have been, I would have nerdily kind of preferred it if the Borg were still kind of the homogenous, all one robot voice thing, but never mind. I'm probably in the minority with that one. So the next thing I have on my list, completely at random, hit or miss, Christine Chapel.
Oh, absolute legend. Again, come on, she's amazing. And especially since I've been watching the TAS, she's brilliant in that.
Awesome.
She saves the day more than once in that. Yeah, love her.
Oh, that's great. You can't not love any character that's played by the First Lady of Star Trek, Majel Barron,
Oh
of course.
yes, absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
She's probably my least favorite of her characters, and I am including the computer voice in that.
yeah.
But she's still good, though.
I know what you mean. Yeah, she was kind of yeah. There were like some of the episodes she was in were, they weren't great for her, but she does absolutely slay, a couple of times and does save the ship in the animated series.
Oh, I still need to watch all of those. I've only seen a handful, so I'll get to it.
Yeah, yeah, me too. I have only seen about not even the first season. Oh, how many seasons were there? God, I don't
There was
remember.
only the first season, and I think like 3 episodes second season when I was looking into it.
Yeah.
It's a bit weird like that.
Yeah, no, I kind of forgot to continue my watch through, so I have to get back on that.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, love her.
So, yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I think the character's a hit because as much as I didn't love when they kind of played the fawning cliche romance bit with Spock, it did give you a few really fantastically well acted moments. Yeah, I think that character's great, but anything Majel does was always great in Star Trek. And as I say, probably my least favorite of her characters, but even still a complete hit with me. And great to have her on the ship for the original series, I think.
Oh, yes.
Oh, so the next thing we kind of touched on briefly. The next thing I have on my list is the Spore Drive. Hit or miss?
Spore Drive. I will have to go with my instinct and just say miss because it's different. It's different. It's based on, semi-real world science theory, but I think it would not work in real life. And
of course, yeah.
yeah, the tardigrade and the hooking up your arms to the thing, I don't like it. Don't like it. No, don't like Spore
That's
Drive.
fair enough. Absolutely. I'm going to, again, very, very lightly disagree. I think that it's a hit now. I would have completely been on the same page as you during pretty much the entire first season of Discovery. But I think it's just worn me down through sheer amount of use. And now I just get really excited when you see the cool kind of the disc spinning and then the whole ship spinning and everything, and it looks cool. So the really basic, unintelligent part of me is like, oh, look cool, ship goes up. But
I know what you mean.
Logically, it doesn't make a heck of sense, does it?
No, the first season I thought Black Alert was the coolest thing I'd ever heard, and it was so mysterious, and there was moisture droplets, and everything was going weird, and you had to go back to your quarters. It was all secretive. It was cool, but when it turned out to be just we're using mushrooms to go really fast.
I love it when you put it like that because it just gets more and more ridiculous the more basic you make it, doesn't it?
Yeah. So that's all I have to say about that.
We're strapped to a giant version of a microscopic life form so that we can sail through a mushroom highway and go anywhere.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah. It's ridiculous. It really is. But again, I think it's just the visual and the fact that I like that they can almost get anywhere, but I do completely wish that it hadn't been in a prequel series because that, again, it ruins anything resembling continuity in canon. At least they try to explain it, I guess, at the end of series.
Oh, they were like, let's never talk about this again. It's private.
I'm fine with it from a story perspective of it looking cool and just getting them somewhere. But I'm like you, I don't like the whole science that obviously quite clearly Brian Fuller was obsessed with the real life Paul Stamets and the whole mycology mushrooms aspect, and I've never really liked that either because it was the flavor of the month for a moment, and then I think within about a year it was completely disproved and thrown out of any kind of scientific validity. Which is a shame.
It was nice though. It was nice that they went with something that was current and something from the real world while they were writing it. It was nice, a nice tie into the real world.
I appreciate the attempt to make something at least different as well, because we'd seen by that point so much like warp and transwarp and slipstream and everything that at least it was a bit unique to the usual crystals and drive systems or whatever. So, but anyway, so slight hit from me and a bit of a miss from you, I think, is probably where we settle on that. So the next thing on the list is the character of Harry Mudd. Would you say hit or miss for Harry?
I would say both. I
Interesting.
miss for the original and hit for Discovery.
Oh, that's probably the reverse
Does
of
that
what a lot of
shock you?
people would say. Yeah, it does. It's honestly the
Yeah.
opposite of what I was expecting you to say. But yeah, go ahead. Why is that?
I absolutely loved him in Discovery. He was well played. He was very funny. He was really well cast.
Hmm.
The, he was kind of mirroring Q, which I thought was nice for them to be like obviously mirroring Q and saying Mon Capitan and everything. So I just I liked him, and he was the TOS one now. I'm not a huge TOS fan anyway,
Ah,
so every time I think of TOS, it's kind of silly in my mind. It's kind of silly, but yeah, obviously it's great as well. But most episodes are kind of silly.
yeah, well, I think
So
dated. It's probably fair to say dated is the
yeah,
most
totally did.
fair label you can
Yeah,
give to it.
yeah.
I think hit for both personally.
Okay.
Because I really like. I get that original is cheesy as heck, but I was kind of growing up watching the original series with my mum as a prepubescent
Yeah.
child. That was the moments in Star Trek that you were like, "Yay, fun!" And I like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the character wasn't
Okay.
remotely serious, and he was that broad stereotype, which as a kid, I think I
Yeah,
latched onto a lot more. Like as an adult, I probably would have watched and been like, "This is ridiculously over the top. This guy, what's he
yeah,
doing with this performance?" But at the time, so it's kind of a personal thing, I think. But I agree with you in
yeah.
terms of Rainn Wilson's just a great actor anyway. And
Oh
I think
yeah,
what he
yeah.
did with Harry Mudd was really good. I didn't love that he went a little bit too far down the kind of actual killing people and being a bit sort of brazenly evil.
Yeah.
Could have maybe done
Well,
without a little bit of that. But
yeah, I suppose they had to have some stakes, you know. I think it was done okay. I think it was done right. Well, I think it was wrapped up strangely, and they were like, "It's okay, you can go now. You're just
oh,
gonna
see,
have."
I love the way they wrapped it up because it was just basically a callback to that original series. So
Yeah,
as
yeah.
soon as they
Well,
mentioned that his wife Stella was approaching, I was like,
yeah,
oh, this is going to be. And then, yeah, again, I get that it's sexist and it's really dated, but it's also just
uh,
amusing to me. I don't know why, but yeah. I just like the idea of this con man that can take on the entire universe, and there's this one woman that he's just like, shut up, I can't escape you. We all make our
yeah,
own hell, isn't it, really? But never mind.
yeah.
I'll
I'm kind of
throw.
50-50.
Oh, fair enough. I'll throw one last thing at you for today, then. And the last thing
Okay.
on the hit or miss section for today is Porthos from Enterprise. Hit or miss?
Is that even a question? That isn't even a question. Get out of here.
Well, I'm wondering who would be brave enough to say miss. You'd be curious.
Oh, evil people who don't like animals. Portals is the best character in Enterprise. I'm sorry.
Oh, I agree. He was so lovely. I
Yeah,
never used to be a
yeah.
dog person, but my dad got a dog a few years ago, and now I am. And Porthos is one of those kind of cute little breeds, a little beagle that it's like, oh,
Oh,
whenever I see him on the show, I'm like,
yeah.
oh, look at him. There he goes.
Yeah, and I feel bad for Portos that he never gets the proper walkies. At the time they brought him down to the planet and he got fresh air, he was able to run. He was like, "Oh my God, that's amazing!" And and then the sick bay when he was not well, I did not
Yeah,
like
that
that.
was.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, yeah, it was emotional, but it was. I
yeah.
quite like that episode. I don't think many
Oh, it's
people
an
do, but
amazing episode. Yeah, brilliant episode. But I actually, when I was at Destination Star Trek London in 2012, they had his replica in the
oh,
little
awesome.
stasis chamber. Like, oh, it was very sad to look at, even though
A
it was
little Frank
fake.
Porthos. Oh, bless.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I'm not sure about the logistics of keeping a dog on a starship. I agree with you on there.
yeah,
It probably wasn't great for his development unless they got him down to a lot of planets off screen that we didn't see. But yeah,
yeah.
the character's just lovely, so it's hard to dislike it, isn't it?
Yep,
So,
yep,
yeah, awesome. So understandably, we both love dogs. I think we can say to that. Let me
definitely.
just scroll through my notes here. So that'll conclude the hit or miss section for this week. And we'll move into the next section. And we will begin analysis of the episode that we're reviewing officially, which, if you haven't been keeping up to date, I should have said at the start, was it's an episode of Star Trek Lower Decks, and it's the season 1 finale entitled No Small Parts. So just quickly and as spoiler-free as possible, Linda, what are
Mhm.
some of your broad thoughts on the episode No Small Parts and maybe on Lower Decks in general?
I absolutely love Lower Decks. It's one of my favorite Star Trek shows.
Awesome.
This episode is the best season finale of any series of Star Trek.
Bold claim. Nice.
I am stamping that claim out there. Yep. So
Nice.
it is absolute action, which you do not expect in Lower Decks. When you've come up to season episode 9, you've known what to expect, but then boom, episode 10 is high action, emotion. Oh my God, nostalgia, feelings. It's amazing. It was an absolutely amazing episode, and I've been watching it again today. I felt the same feelings all over again.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I watched it again for the review, and I agree with you. Those are all words, that I would use as well. But I've made a lot of kind of notes. So if you'd indulge me, and perhaps I'll go through them bit by bit and see if you have any thoughts and you wanted to chime in on likes, dislikes, anything like that as well as we go along. So the episode starts with revisiting the original series with the Landru computer. It mentions that they've started worshipping Landru again, which is, I really like the joke of kind of like the little signs that say Landru do not obey. Landru having a verbal sparring match with Captain Freeman and her sort of response of "Do not make me paradox you."
Yeah.
That's the kind of sort of humorous Easter egg that I think Lower Decks just deals in perfectly.
Love that.
It's great,
so
isn't it?
Good. Yeah.
But I do like that it was also starting to call out with Mariner and Boimler the kind of Starfleet some interference idea, which was a bigger idea than I would have expected something like Lower Decks to ever really touch on. But here they did.
Yeah. Fair play, yeah.
Yeah. And similarly, again, for what could be kind of this knockabout silly comedy, I wasn't expecting it to become as involved in the interpersonal stuff and the idea about the secret of Mariner being the captain's daughter and everything. That becoming an actual story sort of idea and something that was developed, I was like, wow, this actually has got a story. It's going places. I like it. So
that was cool. And we've seen Jake Sisko, but he is not in Starfleet. But he does get like Nog bothering him to kind of talk. Yeah, will you talk to your dad? Will you talk to your dad? But and them not knowing. And she's always getting away with stuff, but she's always going to the brig as well. But she doesn't care, and it makes sense that her mom is the captain.
It does, yeah. And they call out by name later, don't they? Wesley and Beverly Crusher were able to work together.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, they had no issues working together, did they?
We cut through anyway the Lower Decks credits, which are fantastic. I don't really think there's much more I can say other than it's really cool. All the scenes are really awesome and the music's great. But I was surprised that straight after the credits you go in with a scene that tonally I wasn't expecting from Lower Decks, which is the complete destruction of the Solvang, the red accented California ship. It's so weird because it starts off with the jokes about like, oh, this has got the fresh ship smell, and who peeled the little thing away from the little screen protector thing and everything. But then to have it completely destroyed.
Everyone's boots are at the side of the bridge because they're taking them off.
Exactly. Oh yeah, we've all been there. I've definitely been in houses and stuff like that as well. But again, it was weird coming from that to just an explosion and then cut to the next scene. But I feel bad for all the California class ships that get destroyed because I really like the design. So anytime I see one, I'm like, "Ooh, look, cool! It's got the red highlights because it's a command ship and everything." And no, it's been
I do like the color detail. I'm not huge about this ship design. It is growing on me, but it's not one of my absolute favorites. I will be buying the model though when it comes out.
I'm really looking forward to getting the model of it. But yeah, that's again something you share with Stephen from last week then, because he called the Cerritos design a miss and I said it was a hit. So
I wouldn't be able to answer that question. It's still growing on me. I have to give it a chance.
That's fair enough. I really like it, but I just go back and listen to last week, listener, if you want to know why I went through it there, why I like it and why I kind of lean towards it a bit more. But yeah. So then, carrying on into the episode, we get introduced to a character who I'm really intrigued to know your thoughts about, and that is the exocomp who would become known as Peanut Hamper. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I love Peanut Hamper. I love how she's basically Tendi The two of them are exactly the same. They're like, "Oh my gosh, you're so cool! Oh my gosh, I love you!" Oh, yeah, they're exactly the same person until she obviously, isn't. Tenty is a bit more loyal than Amber turned out
Yeah,
to be.
I so love that though, because I'm not really going in terms of chronological order. So since I'm talking about the character, I will say I think that sort of unexpected gag sort of moment is one of my favorite parts of the episode. Just building up this
Mm.
character throughout the kind of 20 minutes slowly till you get to the huge heroic, oh, you can do it at the end, and then just
Yeah,
music swells, and then nah.
yeah,
Absolutely brilliant. She just beams
yeah.
herself away like, no, I'm not
I
doing
just,
that.
I just joined Starfleet to piss off my dad.
Exactly, yeah. Oh, I didn't
Yeah,
even notice until this rewatch that if you stay till after the credits, she's still floating out there in space asking for help as well.
yeah, yeah. She goes, help, help. Which totally reminds me of um, Portal 2, if you've ever played the video game.
Oh, I haven't, but okay.
Um, yeah, no, there's a bit at the end of that, which I think they probably based it on.
That's cool. Yeah, probably. Fair
Yeah,
enough. Awesome.
so that's
So
yeah.
carrying on with the other gags of the episode then. So we get this thing
Yeah.
about Rutherford trying to change his moods with his
Oh, I
implant.
love it. I love
Are
it.
you a
And
fan,
he's
yeah?
what a great actor. What a great
Oh,
actor.
he's
And like
just
mid-sentence, to be able to do that mid-sentence and change everything, it's incredible.
yeah, it's good. I like it a lot. I think it's perhaps a little bit much in terms of the writing, but I agree with you that it's played really
Mm.
well, especially when it's like he feels pissed off at what he's saying isn't like angry.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
you should go and talk to her like that.
Yeah. Oh no, I don't think it's too much. I think it's brilliant. They just packed it in. They did if he did three different types of attitudes in one sentence, I thought, yeah, it was amazing.
Awesome, and
I love the show.
I will get into a deep dive later about the actors because I have made that sort of for when we finish talking about the story. I've made little notes about all of the actors and where I sort of like them from and stuff as well. So,
Okay.
so that's cool. What was I going to say next? Let me just have a look. Oh yeah, this is just the level of absolute schoolboy humor that I appreciate. But I just love when they're talking in the ready room and it's the captain and Mariner and Ransom. And he starts
Yeah.
saying, I'm only hard on you when you make me hard. Which I
Yeah,
thought
it's
was
like I could be hard right now.
exactly, yeah.
But
I
I'm not hard.
absolutely I love that. Again,
Yeah.
it's the old adage, isn't it, that dying's easy, comedy's hard, and it's really hard to write good comedy. And lines
Yeah.
like that, I'm laughing out loud in a Star Trek series. So you've got to
I
give
know.
props. Yeah,
It's so weird. It's so weird and it just fits. It just
yeah.
fits in Star
I,
Trek universe. It's
I think
yeah,
it does.
so
Yeah,
well
and
written.
that's the
Yeah.
yeah. I'll never understand the haters and stuff that just aren't willing to accept that it's a comedy, but
No.
it's also Star Trek because it's great. I love it.
Yeah, just let yourself like it, you will like it if you just let your brain relax a little bit and
Yeah, it's just
have some
fun.
fun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I noticed the gag that I think it must have went over my head the first couple of times I watched it, but the gag with the guy who's talking about how Wolf 359's an inside job and
Yeah.
changelings aren't real, the Dominion War didn't happen,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
again, bringing the Star Trek universe into that kind of joke, I think was like, wow, that these
Yeah,
jokes are so
that's a
rapid
big
fire.
one.
You're a
That
fan of
was a
that?
big one. Yeah, yeah. Wolf
Awesome.
359 was in job,
Um,
yeah. And of course she didn't continue dating him because
yeah,
he turned out to be crazy.
exactly. Yeah. But I will throw a quick question at you here then, and then say that when they mention that they're on a mission or whatever, but the Titan is also within range, were you honestly expecting the Titan to appear later, or did you just think nothing of it?
Um, I wouldn't have thought anything of it because they did name drop that ship a couple of times. But of course, this episode was completely spoiled for me the day before, or not the day before,
Oh no!
second 6 months before, because of
Oof.
course we didn't get it for months and months over here.
Ah,
Um,
okay.
yeah, so people hashtag your fucking spoilers, will you please? It's not fair.
That's rough.
Yeah,
I
so
was
that yeah.
fortunate enough to see it when it went out, and I will see. I think I leapt off the chair and punched the air, which was the exact response
Mm,
I think they were going for at the moment when the Titan does kind of swoop down
yeah.
and save the day. I was like,
Well,
yes, it's
I
happening.
honestly, I think I did react like that too, even though I knew it was coming because
Yeah.
the TNG music and everything, yeah,
Yes.
it was. I've cried. I did.
It's
I cried.
fantastic, isn't it? Just seeing Riker as well if you're on screen, him and
Yeah,
Troy and everything, and that ship
yeah,
design is so good.
yeah,
I've always loved the
yeah.
ship design, but I was just because as you'll know if you watch my little intro video thing, I'm collecting the Eagle Moss Starship
Mm.
models. But I've sort of said only canon Starfleet ships are what I'm allowing, so that way I can cap myself.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah, well,
couldn't
that's what.
allow
Yeah,
I couldn't
yeah,
allow myself to buy the Titan because it wasn't a canon ship. And then as soon as it appeared on Lower Decks, I think the next day I was like, right, Eagle Moss site, USS Titan, it's canon now.
yeah. I'm buying it. Yeah, no, that's kind of my rule as well because I definitely wasn't going to subscribe. I can't afford to
No,
subscribe to anything. But like, yeah, I needed all the hero ships and plus my absolute favorites. But then, of course, I just added a couple more. Just I had to get them in gold.
oh no way, you got the gold ones?
I got two gold ones. I got the Enterprise D and the original Enterprise. Just
I
they
couldn't
went
ever.
on sale. I think they're half price or something. Yeah.
Oh, that's fair. I think I have seen them on sale a few times, but they're still so
Yeah.
pricey. I don't think I
But
could.
they are so beautiful.
They
They're
are.
so beautiful in person. They're
I,
amazing. Yeah.
I don't fault you at all. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. So just moving quickly along, then one of the things I've sort of noticed throughout this first season was the shuttle Sequoia in the background, which I was surprised to see
Yeah.
actually come into focus and get used in this episode. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
didn't notice it at all at first. It took a couple episodes before I realized they were just basically making their own like
Yeah.
hot rod version, I guess, of a shuttle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was it
And they were
something
carving
you
their
noticed?
names into it or something like it was. Yeah.
Yeah, they had like they've got like the equivalent of Go Faster stripes and their own like shark teeth on the front, and yeah, just random scribbles of their names, and it looks so
Yeah.
ramshackle because it's like the completely wrong nacelles for the box body of it and everything. But
Yeah.
and yet when
I
it gets
think
its chance,
I think Mike said they weren't going to use it, but in the end they thought, well, they can't just leave it there. You've seen it all along. It has to come swooping in
oh, I love that.
at the
I'm pleased they did
end.
decide to do that. The fact that it was it was the moment as well. What they used it for with Shax and Rutherford
Yeah.
was epic. I love that.
Yeah.
You got to love some good ship nerdiness. So,
Oh, yes. Yeah,
uh,
totally.
so just moving on to the next key point, then, which what did you think about the return of the Pakleds? That was a bit unexpected.
That was genius. That was genius now because now I think I have said this before in a review of this episode, but for the Pakleds to be the joke, and they say these words that they were a bit of a joke,
Yep.
and for them to become the main villain and to be such a badass villain, you
Yep.
know, you have to take these people seriously now. You know, they can't just joke about them. I thought that was brilliant, and I thought that mirrored what was happening in season 1 of Lower Decks. That
Yep.
you kind of up to then you take that Lower Decks as a joke. You know, I thought it was supposed to be a joke. Yeah, it is, and then suddenly, bam, season finale. This is serious. There are people dying. You know,
Yeah.
there are ships blowing up. This is a serious show as well as being a bit of a joke. But yeah, you must pay attention to the show. So
I agree.
I liked that.
I completely agree that it was a stroke of genius to use, like you said, the joke villain for the
Yeah,
first joke comedy series and show that
yeah,
you can do both and you can have that mix. And I thought it was
mm,
perfectly done the way that they appear and they've got those badass cutting lasers that are ripping holes into the ship and everything, and the ship looks really
yeah.
formidable. And then they get on the actual view screen and it's just like, we thought you were the Enterprise. Oh,
Yeah, Enterprise strong. Oh,
but this is something as well
yeah.
later when the Titan comes in, like it's another Enterprise. Like they think that all the ships are just all Enterprises.
How do they fly their ships? How do they press the right buttons? Like, I don't know. I don't know how they
They
have enough
probably got.
oxygen on
It's
their
probably
ship.
best not to think about it because they've probably got really unfortunate slaves somewhere just doing all the work for them.
Yeah, yeah,
So
I have to. Yeah.
anyway, so talking about returning characters and stuff, returning from earlier in Lower Decks, what did you think of the character of Badgie?
Badgie, yes, I loved that episode of Badgie. What a funny! Oh my God, yeah, and the holodeck safeties, the holodeck character going evil and trying to take over. Oh yeah, excellent. And I love that he kind of semi saves the day, but
But
he
still turns.
doesn't. You know, yeah, he wants to kill everybody. Amazing.
I don't know why that character is so adored, but I completely agree with everybody that says that. That's why he's my little icon on the screen at the moment. Because
Really?
Badgie is just so funny. I think, is it Jack McBrayer who does the
Yeah.
voice, does such a really good job. Like, at first,
Oh,
even when Rutherford's like, you better not betray me, and he's just like, hee, I'm Badgie. And then
yeah.
immediately turns from that into, can I teach you a
Yeah.
lesson?
Yeah. I'm always monitoring comms.
Exactly, yeah. And I'm always a complete sucker for any time they have something that they've brought up in an episode that feels throwaway that then becomes like
Yeah.
integral to the plot. So yeah.
Yes, which I think is going to happen now. Skipping ahead a little bit, but I think that's what's going to happen with the clone
Oh
Boimler.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
he's coming back. He's coming back.
There's a bit of a spoiler in the trailer that I won't go into, but I think that might have spoiled the fate of at least one of the Boimlers. But yeah, I kind of wish that scene
Okay.
hadn't been in the trailer just in case. But
Oh, I don't think I've seen the trailer.
I won't mention it just in case it is a
Yeah.
spoiler. But yeah, odd, but never mind. So talking about kind of funny moments and stuff, there's the scene when they kind of have to fight off the Pakleds. They're boarding the ship, and Mariner kind of busts open all this file,
Yeah.
all these little drawers and stuff of contraband.
Yeah.
Did you have any favorite Easter eggs among that moment, and why was it the fantastic space fun Spock helmet?
Yes. How did you know I was going to say that anyway? Yeah, yeah. The helmet.
So good.
The helmet. And it's canon. It's canon.
Yep.
Yeah. And I love that they're falling out the ceiling. She's just bashing panels off the wall. They're just falling out of everywhere, and her contraband saves the day. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that about Mariner as well, that everyone's always going on about how she's kind of disrespectful and she can't be relied on and everything, but it's ultimately her brand that becomes useful. And when it is useful, she will entirely step up and kind of save the day and do things her way, which again is the best kind of heroes of Trek, really, isn't it? I think, anyway. So again, any of the haters that are always like, "Oh, this lead character's crap because she's so anti-establishment," I'm like, that's the point.
Yeah. And how many times did saving the day require disobeying orders or breaking rules? That's how you have a good story. You can't just be going by the book all the time.
That was Kirk every week, to be fair.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And Spock and Scotty going, "No, are you sure you should be doing this?"
Exactly. Yeah. What was it to say in the Trials and Tribulations? He's got 17 separate violations of the timeline just to himself.
Yeah. Yeah, we love Mariner.
We do. I love Mariner, but again, I'll get into why I love that actress a little bit later, because I've kind of talked about, yes, we all loved seeing the Titan. I did. I jumped up and punched the air. It was great that they got Frakes and Curtis back to do the voices and to have a lot of fun with them, with the gags about the jazz and Troy sensing Ransom's insecurities and
the Riker coming off the holodeck. Oh, I was just watching the first Enterprise.
This guy's had a long journey getting from there to here.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it.
Love
I do. I love that there's actual development in a story at the end as well, though. So the action's fantastic. A bit too brief for me, but brilliant anyway. All these cool references and stuff. But then it goes somewhere because you have Boimler promoted to the Titan and Mariner's kind of peeved at him, which again gives you the fantastic Easter egg stew of, I'm going to, feed you to an Armus or attack you with a plague or whatever.
Yeah, I love that. I love when they do that, though. They don't base the whole episode over this one reference. They just throw it in a little throwaway line, or they throw in about 10 references in one, like she's listed characters or something, and just that's the best way to do it. It's like, there's your references. We know Star Trek. Now can we get on with doing our own thing, which is hilarious, by the way.
Absolutely.
I just this show just does it for me.
Absolutely, and it was nice to see the ship getting repaired at the end, which gives you an excuse for why the season 2 update looks so fresh and new, I guess.
Oh yes.
But again, the sort of self-referential line of "don't make it look all sovereign" class was kind of cute as well.
Yeah, I hate it when the ship comes out looking all sovereign class.
Nice. Not to end on a downer, but my one criticism that I do have, which isn't related to this episode really, but I thought it was really impactful, that it seemed like they had really cool stakes when Shax got killed off. So in retrospect, I'm really annoyed at the whole kind of throwaway gag of, "Oh, he's back, don't worry about why." Because I'm like, if nobody...
I get you. But they had to kill him to make the joke, I think. So
which I would be
yes,
fine with. And as I said, that's my point, is that I would be fine with it, but then don't give us an extended scene of his funeral, which that kind of feels like it's...
But even the funeral was the throwback. You know, they were doing the whole.
Oh yeah, they were doing Wrath of Khan, of course.
Yeah, but but everyone was pissed off that Shax died. Everyone, did not like that. So
I was fine with it, to be honest. I assumed they'd get the voice actor back just to do another character. But I was like, it's kind of good to establish stakes as opposed to just... I mean, they do that anyway. The entire crew of the Solvang is destroyed, of course. But
well, yes,
yeah. But yeah, anyway.
I don't mind that he's back.
That's fair enough. It's not really about this episode, as I say. It's more season 2 quibble anyway, because you don't know that in this episode. But anyway, the next bit I wanted to get into just quickly was a bit of a deep dive into the actors, in case anybody out there doesn't know them, because this is more my chance to kind of recommend things to people, because I think they're all really good. And that is the actress who plays Beckett Mariner is an actress called Tawny Newsome, who I think is a really great actress with a varied range. I first saw her in the series Space Force, which is a Netflix sitcom by the guys that did The Office. She's one of the leads in that, and she's really good. She is also in a single episode of the Jordan Peele Twilight Zone, in which she's fantastic. And she's very active on the internet and has her own podcast that I thoroughly recommend as well. So, yeah.
She's a musician as well, and she has some interesting music.
Awesome. I knew you would know. That's awesome. Definitely worth a follow completely. That's great. Jack Quaid, you'll probably know as Huey from The Boys, who is, similar but a much more buttoned up character, I think, than Boimler. And it's good to me that he makes the characters very distinct. You may also not know that he's the son of Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan. So Hollywood nepotism at its finest, I suppose. But we'll let him off because he's talented. So. Eugene Cordero, who I think is we mentioned is a bit of an MVP of the show. He voices Rutherford. I didn't think I was familiar with him, but then I realized he's Pillboy in The Good Place, which is such a completely different character that's why I didn't recognize him. He also pops up in Loki, if you've watched that. Great comedy chops on that.
Yeah, really good scene, actually.
Fantastic. Dawn Lewis, who voices Captain Freeman, is a prolific voice actress, but she's most familiar to me for voicing La Barbara Conrad in Futurama, because I love that show.
Oh, there you go.
Fred Tatascio, who voices Shax, is one of the most prolific voice actors, but he especially seems to have carved out a niche playing any burly comic book characters. So if you're watching a cartoon and the Hulk or the Thing turns up, there's a 99% chance he's doing the voice.
Nice.
Jerry O'Connell is, of course, most well known for being the husband of Rebecca Romaine, who plays number 1.
I didn't even know that. That was what I knew him about from. Yeah. I actually didn't know that until I watched until they were in Star Trek.
Cool. And some show called Sliders and some movies, Scream 2 and Stand By Me and some stuff. Not important, No. And sad to say that I'm not as familiar with the other two actors, Noelle Wells, who plays Tendi, and Gillian Vigman, who plays Tana. But I do think they're both fantastic. I think Noelle has the perfect level of kind of charm and innocence to play Tendi. And I think Gillian Vigman as Tana is just flat out hilarious. She's the Jet Reno of Lower Decks. Everything she says is kind of abrasive but hilarious. It's great.
Yeah, exactly the same. Yeah.
Awesome. Excellent. So I'll move into the next section because I'm aware we're losing the fight with time. So the very next and final part of the review is the Gene's Vision section, the mighty ideology of Trek. So before I go over the things that I was able to find, did you have anything from this episode that you thought fits into the Gene's Vision of Trek?
Well, I suppose the very start, they are trying to get the people to not worship the computer. Because that's obviously directly from TOS. But the Gene's Vision, well, the whole, I don't know, the whole show, now this is a cop-out, but the whole show is all about Gene's Vision. What is Gene's Vision?
That's the thing, I completely agree, but there's on a couple of the notes that I made are kind of, they would apply specifically to this episode, but they are very much the whole show as well. And that's the notes I've made. I've said it's very my interpretation of Gene's vision, anyway, your mileage may vary, is that the way that it examines the ideology with a critical eye, I don't think Gene ever sort of did the thing of saying this is my vision and it is perfect and no one will question it. At least not all the time. So I like that it is aware there are questions to be asked all the time, and it asks them. I also like that everyone has their place and purpose. We mentioned before that you may not like that Mariner is very anti-authority or whatever, but without her, the ship wouldn't function as well. So it's kind of very much everyone has their role to play in life, which I like. It's ultimately like all Star Trek. It's ultimately about working together as a literal family or a work family. So that's always been the key to me. Yeah, go ahead.
I think the inclusiveness as well, and the diversity, and especially with the character of Peanut Hamper. She's a little flying robot, and she's a crew member. And Tendi just comes along and treats her like anybody. So inclusive-ness.
Completely, and I think
is that a word?
No, it is inclusiveness. I've seen that written somewhere. I think.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I agree, and I think it should sadly go without saying, but unfortunately, it still doesn't. That it's both the lead of the show and the captain of the ship are black women, and it's never addressed as a plot point or made a huge deal. It just is, which is lovely to see from me, anyway. So, what else did I say? And of course, if you want to get super nerdy, I personally think that Lower Decks is great at respecting what's come before. It's very reverent, and it doesn't, destroy canon or whatever else you want to say. So I think that fits into this idea really well. And finally, the Titan doing its heroic cavalry moment. That's pure Star Trek, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
awesome
I could watch a half an hour of the Titan coming swooping in with TNG music.
Absolutely, yeah, I could as well. Oh, it's a gorgeous ship, it really is.
Yeah.
So we will finish off then. I will get into, after our opinion, the audience interaction section, which unfortunately is a bit short because not many people replied, but we'll get there. And so I will ask first if you have any conclusions you would like to make about the episode in question. And the scoring system that I'm using is out of 5 Starfleet deltas. So your conclusion and your score out of 5 deltas, and then I'll chime in with mine when you've done.
Okay. This is, it is the best episode, including what I've seen of season 2. It's the best episode of Lower Decks for me. It's just the TNG moments. It just made it for me. But the whole thing being so action-packed, and like I said earlier, just it's a shockingly serious and action-y episode. Don't really haven't expected up until then. It's my ideal episode, and the fact that it's animated, they can do all of this. It's just
that's actually worth mentioning.
So out of 5 deltas, this is a definite 5 for me. Definite 5.
Awesome. Fantastic. I've got my conclusion written out because my autistic brain doesn't think well on the fly. So bear with me. It's going to sound like I'm reading from a script. But my conclusion after watching this again was it's a thrilling finale which pulls off a surprising balancing act incredibly well. It services interpersonal relationship storylines, the basic function of a funny comedy, and an epic Star Trek-worthy finale. It's impossible not to like this as a fan. There's some great action, the best gags of the series, in my opinion, great Easter eggs as usual, and yet an actual plot that would be worthy of live-action, quote-unquote, serious Trek. The ending surprise was a glorious punch the air moment, as I've mentioned, at least for this geek, and played to absolute perfection. If I had to nitpick, there's a couple of jokes that miss the mark or go a bit over the top. The 30-minute time limit makes things feel a bit rushed with a few tonal changes that can be jarring. And there's things here which are robbed of follow-up and circumstance later, though it's not really the fault of this episode. And ultimately, this was such a dang good Trekkie time that it felt fun and rewarding and really enjoyable. And it's one of my favorite episodes of any of the recent Treks. And I would say 4.5 out of 5 Starfleet Deltas would be my score for this episode.
Nice.
So the average score of that then, between 4.5 and 5, would be, I assume, 4.75 Starfleet Deltas out of 5, which is a really high score. I don't think that's going to take some beating, but we've got some great episodes coming up, so you never know. So just remains for me to chime in with the Subspace communication section, which is our little audience interaction thing. as I say, as I'm going to be doing every week, I kind of put out tweets and social media messages asking what people thought about this episode of Lower Decks and their opinions. Unfortunately, I only got 2 replies, so this won't take very long. But just to shout out the 2 people that did reply, at Nicholas_Whaley said, I was absolutely thrilled to see the Titan crashing the Pakled Party. I was surprised to see the Pakleds as space pirates. Peanut Hamper was rather selfish. Badgie was quite helpful, and Shax was absolutely badass. So, all pretty true, I think. And yeah, at John Heroes says, yeah, I thought Badgie was cartoonish and a bit out of place. Also didn't like the kind of bullying in their first story, but I think I followed up afterwards and they said they did find the character funny and like their appearance in this episode. So, and I'm not having a bad word said against Badgie because he's great, even though he turns evil and will betray you at the last minute and get you an implant.
That wasn't his fault. It wasn't his fault.
Are you defending the homicidal Delta?
He has been programmed. He hasn't, this is all Rutherford's fault for creating him.
It's been a real thrill talking all things Trek, and especially the deep dive into Lower Decks with you, Linda. Hopefully you've enjoyed yourself. It was really nice of you to come on, as I've said, and very much appreciated.
It's been brilliant, and I've had a great time.
Excellent. Where do you mind? I think you already have, but do you mind telling people where they can find you on the internet, just in case they want to talk Trek some more?
Yeah, I am at Hen1 on Twitter, and Hen on Instagram, and my YouTube is Hen, and I am also. You will find me on the Nerd Escape podcast, which is also on YouTube and on Twitter at escape_nerd. I'm everywhere.
Awesome. And those are all good things that I would definitely recommend. And you can find me, as you'll probably know by now, at Iron Mike Wilson on Twitter. I'm just my name on Facebook and Instagram. And the podcast account is at HoM Trek, which again stands for HOM Trek. But then I realized, heck, let's pretend it's about Mr. HoM. I guess that's technically a Trek reference. So at HoM Trek on Twitter. And come back and join us again next week. Next week is going to be a little bit different. I'm joined by my good friend who you may know from a Doctor Who podcast that I did, my friend Will, who's also known as at Who Game Shows. He's never watched a single episode of Star Trek before, but insisted on starting from the beginning. So he has watched the episode The Cage, and we're devoting the whole episode next time to just what his thoughts are on that from a complete noob, never seen any Star Trek perspective. So that'll be interesting.
That sounds very interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, that's just a special one next week, and then we're back with the other episode reviews the week after. I'm joined by at Kel Trill from Twitter, and we're going to be reviewing an episode that came up today, actually, the Discovery episode, Magic to Make the Sanest Man Go Mad. That's week 4. So again, thanks for joining me, Linda. Remember, we are Starfleet. Live long and prosper. See you guys next week.